The text message glows on my phone screen like a radioactive warning. Your father and I are selling the estate. Ryan needs capital for his new venture. The movers arrive next week. My hands shake as I set down the delicate paintbrush I've been using to restore a 19th century landscape. I'm Presley, and this is how my mother casually informed me they're selling my childhood home, including everything inside it, including my first restoration piece, the one that launched my career, though they never saw it that way. Carter, you still here? Dr. Jang peers into my workspace at the New York Art Conservatory. It's almost 9, just finishing up. My voice sounds steadier than I feel. The painting before me swims in my vision, a pastoral scene that some wealthy collector wants restored before their granddaughter's wedding. Always someone else's treasured heirlooms, someone else's family legacy. I grab my phone and dial Lucas. He answers on the second ring, his voice warm against my ear. Hey, what's wrong? You never call this late. They're selling it, all of it. The words tumble out. To fund another one of Ryan's brilliant ideas. Because God forbid my perfect little brother should have to actually earn anything himself. The estate? Jesus, Press, did they even discuss it with you? Why would they? I laugh, but it comes out more like a bark. I'm just the eldest daughter who chose art restoration over medical school. The family disappointment. My phone buzzes with another text. Emma this time. OMG sis, did you hear? Ryan's startup is going to revolutionize social media marketing. Mom and Dad are so excited. Of course they are. They've always been excited about Ryan and Emma's endeavors. Ryan the entrepreneur, Emma the influencer. And me, I'm the one who restored that Degas they keep in the main hall. The one they still credit to some professional whenever they show it off at their precious dinner parties. Come home, Lucas says. We'll open that bottle of wine you've been saving and figure this out. I can't, not yet. I stare at the half-restored landscape before me, at the careful brushstrokes revealing the artist's original vision beneath years of neglect. I need to finish something first. I hang up and pull up my mother's contact. My thumb hovers over the call button, but instead, I open my photo gallery. There it is, the before and after shots of the Degas. The one I spent 6 months restoring when I was 19, working nights while taking classes, the one that got me noticed by the conservatory. Another text arrives. The movers will pack everything carefully, dear. No need for you to come help. No need for me to come help. Like I'm some distant relative they need to politely inform, not their firstborn daughter. Not the one who spent her childhood in that house, learning art history at our grandmother Grace's knee, while mother pursued her social climbing and father built his surgical empire. I set down my phone and pick up my brush again, but my hands won't stop shaking. The landscape before me blurs as hot tears threaten to spill. I blink them back hard. Crying won't change anything. It never has. But maybe it's time something did change. Maybe it's time they learned exactly what their eldest daughter is capable of. After all, I know every piece in that house, every brushstroke, every hidden signature. I know secrets about that collection that would make their precious social circle gasp. I reach for my phone one more time, but not to call my mother. Instead, I dial my grandmother Grace's number. She answers on the first ring, as if she's been waiting for my call. They told you, didn't they? Her voice is soft, knowing. Yes. I take a deep breath. Grandma, remember that conversation we had about your private collection? The one hidden in the estate's east wing? I do. There's a smile in her voice now. I think it's time we had another talk about that, don't you? The Carter family estate looms before me, its Georgian columns casting long shadows across the manicured lawn. I grip my steering wheel, watching the movers' trucks line up like vultures. 2 days of ignoring my parents' calls, and here I am anyway. Funny how some strings never really break, no matter how hard you pull. Presley, darling. Mother's voice cuts across the driveway as I step out. She's wearing her charity lunch outfit. Pearls, Chanel suit, practiced smile. I didn't expect you today. The movers have everything under control. I'm sure they do. I follow her inside, past the Dega in the main hall. My Dega, though she'll never admit it. Where's Dad? Conference call about Ryan's funding. Such exciting times. She clasps her hands together. Did you know his app already has pre-launch interest from 3 major tech firms? Fascinating. I trace my finger along the Dega's frame. And this? Where's this going? Oh, that old thing. Ryan's new office, probably. He needs proper artwork to impress investors. Something snaps inside me. This isn't proper artwork. This is a masterpiece I spent 6 months restoring. 6 months of my life you've spent pretending never happened. Don't be dramatic, dear. We paid that restoration company quite well. I was that restoration company. My voice echoes through the foyer. I did this. Me, your daughter. The one you keep forgetting exists unless you need someone to authenticate a painting for one of your charity auctions. Well, look who finally showed up to help. Ryan appears at the top of the stairs, all designer casual in his tech entrepreneur uniform. Though I guess help isn't really your thing, is it, Prez? More of a, what do you call it, art janitor? Better than a professional scammer. The words fly out before I can stop them. How many startups have you burned through Dad's money on now? 4? 5? At least I'm building something. He descends the stairs, each step deliberate. What are you building, sis? A collection of other people's masterpieces you'll never own? Ryan, Mother warns, but he's on a roll. Face it, Presley. While you've been playing with paintbrushes, Emma and I have been creating real value. That's why they're selling, because we're worth investing in. I laugh, and it sounds foreign even to me. Real value? Your last app was a dating service for people's pets, which had 50,000 downloads. And 0 revenue. I turned to Mother. Did he tell you that part? Or just the parts that sound good at your country club lunches? The front door opens and Emma breezes in, phone in hand, already recording. Hey followers, just checking out the family estate one last time before. Oh, she lowers her phone. Drama alert. Should I come back later? Your sister's having one of her episodes, Ryan says. I'm having a revelation, I correct him, about how this family works, about how you two can do no wrong, while I stop, noticing something different about the Degas. There, in the corner, barely visible. I lean closer. What are you doing? Mother asks. There's another signature here. I pull out my phone, switching on its flashlight. Under the original artists, it can't be. Presley, really, the movers are waiting. But I'm already texting a photo to Grace. The response comes almost immediately. Come see me, now. Keep the Dega, I tell them, heading for the door. Put it in Ryan's office. Let him impress his investors. But remember this moment, because things are about to change. Is that a threat? Ryan calls after me. I pause at the door, thinking of Grace's hidden collection, of the signature I just found, of all the pieces about to fall into place. No, little brother, it's a promise. Behind me, I hear Emma's voice. Oh my God, you guys, my followers are going to love this family tea. I slam the door on their voices, my heart pounding with equal parts rage and excitement. Grace knows something about that signature, something that could change everything. And for once, I'm not going to let my family write me out of the story. Grace's cottage sits at the edge of the estate grounds, a defiant holdout against my parents' manicured vision. I find her in her studio, surrounded by stacks of leather-bound journals and art catalogs. Aunt Clara's there, too, which surprises me. They rarely spend time together. Show me the photo again, Grace says, extending her hand. Her fingers tremble slightly as she studies my phone screen. Just as I thought. Clara, get the key. Aunt Clara moves to an ancient roll-top desk, retrieving a small brass key from a hidden compartment. Are you sure about this, Mother? Once we show her, she deserves to know. Grace's voice carries an edge I've never heard before. Linda and James have hidden enough from her. They lead me to what I always thought was a storage room. The key turns with a heavy click, and Grace flips a switch. Track lighting illuminates dozens of paintings arranged on specialized racks. My breath catches. I recognize several pieces from major artists, works I've only seen in textbooks. Your grandfather's collection, Grace explains. The real one, not the sanitized version your mother displays upstairs. I move closer to examine a small oil painting. This can't be authentic. This piece was lost during the war? Aunt Clara interrupts. That's what the records say. That's what everyone believes. Your grandfather was more than a collector, Grace continues. He helped Jewish families protect their art from the Nazis. Some pieces were returned after the war. Others, she gestures to the walls. The families were gone. No heirs. He became their guardian. My professional training kicks in as I examine the paintings. These need proper conservation. The humidity down here is precisely controlled, Aunt Clara says. We've maintained everything exactly as your grandfather specified, including this. She pulls out a large portfolio. Inside are documents, provenance records, letters, photographs. And there, in a protected sleeve, is a familiar signature, the same one I spotted on the Degas. Your grandfather signed every piece he saved, Grace explains. A hidden mark, proof of their true history. The Degas upstairs, it was one of them. My phone buzzes. Another text from Mother. The movers need access to the East Wing tomorrow. Please don't make this difficult. They can't sell these, I whisper. They don't even know they exist. No, they can't, Grace agrees, because they don't belong to your parents. They belong to the foundation. What foundation? Aunt Clara hands me a document. The one your grandfather established before he died. The one your mother never knew about because she was too busy climbing social ladders to care about her own father's legacy. I scan the paperwork. The Foundation's board of directors has 3 names: Grace Meadows, Clara Carter, and me? You're the only one who inherited his eye, Grace says softly. The only one who understood that art isn't about prestige or price tags. It's about preservation, protection. Does Lucas know about any of this? Aunt Clara asks. No, I'm still processing. I came straight here after. Good. Grace takes my hands in hers. Because what happens next must stay between us. Your mother and father aren't just selling the estate. They're selling everything inside it, including pieces they don't have the right to sell. Ryan's startup is failing, Aunt Clara adds. Badly. They're desperate for capital. My phone buzzes again. Emma this time. OMG, sis, Ryan's having a total meltdown about the investors backing out. Mom's freaking. Dad's talking about mortgaging his practice. I look at the hidden collection, at my grandfather's signature, at the foundation documents making me part of something bigger than family drama. What do you need me to do? Grace's eyes gleam. What you do best, dear. Restore things to their proper place, starting with the truth. It won't be pretty, Aunt Clara warns. Linda will fight back. James will try to protect their reputation. Let them. I pull out my phone and delete the unread messages. They wanted to write me out of the family story? Fine, I'll write my own. Grace smiles, and for a moment I see the steel beneath her grandmother's softness. Then let's begin. Lucas's apartment feels like neutral territory after the revelations at Grace's cottage. He listens without interrupting as I explain about the hidden collection, the foundation, my grandfather's secret signatures. When I finish, he doesn't immediately respond, just gets up and pours 2 glasses of wine. "You haven't touched your phone in an hour," he finally says, handing me a glass. "Because I know what I'll find. More demands, more manipulation." I take a sip, more of Ryan's crisis becoming everyone else's emergency. His laptop screen glows with a notification. Speaking of which, Emma's gone live on Instagram. You might want to see this. I watch my sister's perfectly curated face fill the screen. And honestly, my followers keep asking about the family drama, so let's just address it. Yes, Big Sis is trying to block the estate sale. No, she doesn't care that it could literally ruin Ryan's life. But that's not even the worst part. My wine glass freezes halfway to my lips. I wasn't going to say anything, but she's been secretly working with this shady art dealer. Dad found the emails. They're planning to steal pieces from the estate before the sale. Can you believe? I shut the laptop. They're trying to get ahead of it. They know I found something. But how? Lucas asks. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. It's a photo of Grace's cottage, taken through the window. In frame, the open door to the hidden collection room. Someone was watching. My hands shake as I show Lucas. They saw us go in. Another buzz. My father this time. My office, tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Come alone or the board of trustees at your precious conservatory gets an anonymous tip about art theft. He's bluffing, Lucas says, but I'm already pulling up the foundation documents on my phone. No, he's desperate, and he's not alone. I forward him the surveillance photo. Mother's fingerprints are all over this. The shady art dealer story? That's her specialty, discrediting people while maintaining plausible deniability. So, what's your play? Before I can answer, my phone rings. Aunt Clara. Turn on the news, now. Lucas grabs the remote. The local station shows Ryan at a press conference, looking appropriately concerned in his startup casual blazer. While I can't comment on ongoing family matters, I want to assure our investors that the sale proceeds will be handled with complete transparency. He's using it, I whisper, using this mess to make himself look trustworthy to investors. There's more, Clara says. Your mother just called. She's meeting with an auction house tomorrow. She's going to have everything in the estate authenticated and cataloged, including the hidden collection. My wine glass slips from my hand, shattering on Lucas's hardwood floor. Red spreads like blood across the floor as the implications hit me. Once the auction house documents the collection, there's no hiding its existence, no protecting its secrets, no preserving my grandfather's work. I have to go, I tell Lucas, already grabbing my coat. Where? To make a choice. I pause at his door. The kind that can't be undone. Presley, he catches my arm. Whatever you're planning, remember who you're dealing with. They're not just your family anymore. They're opponents who know all your weak spots. I think of the Dega, of Grace's trembling hands, of my grandfather's hidden signatures marking pieces saved from war and destruction. No, I say, they're people who think they know all my weak spots, but they forgot something important. What's that? I've spent my entire career learning how to reveal what lies beneath the surface. I pull out my phone and dial Grace's number. Time to show them exactly what they've been looking at all these years. As I head for the elevator, I hear Emma's voice still streaming from Lucas's laptop. And really, we're just worried about her. Mental health is so important. I smile, thinking of the documentation hidden in Grace's cottage. Let them spin their stories. I'm about to paint them a masterpiece of truth they'll never see coming. The auction house representative arrives at 8 sharp, clipboard in hand, wearing the kind of practiced neutrality I recognize from years in the art world. Mother hovers nearby, pearls gleaming like armor. Ms. Carter, the representative, Davidson, according to his badge, nods at me. Your mother tells me you have expertise regarding these pieces. Some. I match his neutral tone while scanning the room. Grace and Aunt Clara should be in position by now, though apparently not enough to prevent their sale. Mother's smile tightens. Presley, dear, do be professional. Mr. Davidson doesn't need to hear about family matters. No, I step closer to the Dega. Then he probably doesn't need to hear about the provenance issues either. Davidson's pen pauses mid-note. Provenance issues? Presley, Mother warns, but I'm already pulling out my phone, showing Davidson the photos I took of my grandfather's hidden signature. These pieces have a complicated history, I explain. Wartime acquisitions, missing documentation, questions of ownership. That's quite enough. Mother reaches for my phone, but Davidson's already seen enough. Mrs. Carter, you didn't mention any ownership disputes. Because there aren't any. She forces a laugh. My daughter is simply being dramatic. The door opens. Ryan strides in, followed by Emma recording on her phone. Mom, the investors are… What's she doing here? Protecting our grandfather's legacy, I say. Something you'd understand if you'd ever bothered to learn about it. Is this about those paintings in Grace's cottage? Emma asks, camera still rolling. Because that's totally… Miss Carter, Davidson interrupts, frowning at his notes. You mentioned wartime acquisitions? Before I can answer, the room's lights flicker, right on schedule. Oh dear, I say. Someone must be accessing the estate's electrical panel, perhaps in the east wing. Near a certain hidden room? Mother's face drains of color. James, she calls out. James, come quickly. But when the door opens again, it's Grace who enters, followed by Aunt Clara. They're carrying folders, decades of documentation my grandfather kept about each piece's true history. Linda, Grace says quietly, I think it's time we discussed what really happens to these paintings. Mother, please. Linda's voice wavers. Think about what this will do to the family name. The family name? I laugh. You mean the one you've been using to cover up theft? The one you're willing to destroy Ryan's evidence of fraud to protect? Emma's phone drops slightly. Wait, what fraud? The startup's books, Aunt Clara explains. Why do you think they're so desperate to sell? Ryan's investors aren't just backing out, they're threatening legal action. Ryan lunges for Emma's phone. Turn that off. Don't you dare! Emma clutches her phone. Your followers deserve the truth, I cut in. About the paintings, about Ryan's company, about how our parents have been covering up secrets for years while dismissing anyone who threatened to expose them. Davidson clears his throat. I believe we need to postpone this evaluation pending further investigation. No. Mother steps forward. No, you don't understand. These pieces are our legacy. They're not yours to sell. Grace's voice carries the weight of decades. They never were. Show them, Presley. I pull out the foundation documents, watching my mother's carefully constructed world crack as Davidson reads them. A charitable foundation? He looks up. With Miss Carter as a board member? Along with myself and Clara, Grace confirms. Established by my late husband to protect and preserve these works, to ensure they'd never be sold off or hidden away again. Mother turns to me, and for the first time, I see real fear in her eyes. What have you done? What you taught me to do. I meet her gaze steadily. I protected what matters. I just chose a different definition of value than yours. Emma's still recording, Ryan's frozen in place, and somewhere in the house, I hear my father's approaching footsteps. The moment hangs suspended, like varnish not quite dry, waiting to reveal the final image beneath. I think of Lucas's warning about opponents who know my weak spots. But standing here, surrounded by allies who understand what really matters, I realize something. They never knew my weak spots at all. They just convinced me I was nothing but weakness. Time to show them my strength. The New York Art Conservatory's exhibition hall gleams under spotlights, each painting from Grace's collection perfectly positioned. I adjust the Dega one final time, my hands trembling slightly. In 3 hours, the doors will open to critics, collectors, and my family, whether they want to come or not. Security's in place, Lucas says, appearing beside me. Your father's lawyer already tried to serve us with a cease and desist. Grace's documentation shut that down fast. And the press? Already gathering outside. Emma's live streaming to her followers about family betrayal and artistic fraud. He touches my arm. Are you sure about this? Before I can answer, my phone rings. Ryan. I let it go to voicemail, but a text follows immediately. You have no idea what you've done. Dad's medical license could be at risk if this goes public. He's bluffing, I mutter, but doubt creeps in. Another text arrives, this time from Mother. Your grandfather would be ashamed of this spectacle. The exhibition hall's doors burst open. Father strides in, flanked by two men in suits. Not lawyers this time, hospital board members. Presley. His voice carries that familiar surgical precision. A word. The exhibition opens in 3 hours, I say. Whatever this, he cuts in, is about the hospital's endowment. Your mother's family has been the largest donor for 3 generations. If these paintings were acquired illegally, they weren't. I step forward. Grandfather documented everything. Documentation can be questioned. Reputations can be ruined. Is that what you want? To destroy everything our family has built? The board members exchange glances. I recognize their expressions, the same ones I've seen at countless gallery openings. They're already deciding which side to take. James? Grace's voice rings out as she enters with Aunt Clara. Still trying to control the narrative? Mother, please. He turns. This isn't about control. This is about Ryan's fraud? Clara interrupts. Or about how you've used the hospital's endowment to cover his failures. The board members stiffen. Father's face goes pale. That's right, Clara continues. I have those documents too. Amazing what people keep in safety deposit boxes. A commotion at the entrance draws our attention. Emma bursts in, phone raised. Dad, the investors are here with the SEC investigators. Ryan's trying to stall them, but she stops, finally noticing her live stream is broadcasting everything. The exhibition hall fills with a heavy silence. I look at the paintings surrounding us, pieces my grandfather saved, restored, protected. Each one tells a story of survival, of truth preserved against those who would erase it. Take down the exhibition, Father says quietly. We can still contain this. No. My voice surprises me with its steadiness. These paintings aren't just art, they're evidence of what this family really is, of what you've been hiding. Then you leave me no choice. He nods to the board members. Tell them. The older member steps forward. Miss Carter, given the questions surrounding these pieces, the hospital board must distance itself from the conservatory, including terminating your position. The floor seems to tilt beneath me. Years of work, my professional reputation, everything I've built, gone in a sentence. That's not all, Father adds. The family foundation will be dissolved, its assets frozen pending investigation, including your grandmother's cottage. Grace grabs Clara's arm for support. I see the fear in her eyes, the same fear the original owners of these paintings must have felt watching everything they loved being stripped away. You would do this? I ask Father. Destroy your own mother's home? You did this, he corrects me, with your spite and your revenge. I'm simply containing the damage. I look around the exhibition hall, at my life's work, at my grandfather's legacy, at the truth I thought would set us all free. Instead, it's become a weapon, turning back on everyone I wanted to protect. Lucas moves closer, but I step away. I can't bear comfort right now, not when I've failed so completely. Outside, camera flashes strobe through the windows. Emma's still streaming. Ryan's investors are coming. And all I can think is, I thought revenge would feel like victory. Instead, it feels like watching another masterpiece burn. The exhibition doors open to a flood of critics, collectors, and cameras. I stand near the Dega, watching my family's carefully constructed facade crumble in real time. Ryan huddles with his lawyers in one corner, while Emma live streams everything, her usual polish cracking under pressure. Remarkable restoration work, a voice says beside me. I turn to find Marcus Chen, the most influential art critic on the East Coast, studying the Dega. The signature beneath the signature, that was quite a discovery. It wasn't meant to be discovered, Father cuts in, appearing suddenly. These pieces aren't what, James? Grace moves forward, her wheelchair gliding silently across the polished floor. Aren't proof of what your father did, of what this family really stands for? Chen's eyebrows rise. And what exactly did he do, Mrs. Meadows? Before anyone can respond, the exhibition hall's screens flicker to life. Lucas's cue. Photographs fill the displays. My grandfather in his studio, working with Jewish families during the war, documenting each piece's history. His hidden signatures marking not ownership, but protection. He saved them, I say, loud enough for the gathering crowd to hear. While others were looting art, he was preserving it, protecting it, creating a record so the truth couldn't be erased. Presley? Mother hisses. You have no right. Actually, Chen interrupts, she has every right. He pulls out a folder. These restoration records show something fascinating. The technique used on this Degas, it's identical to previously unknown works that surfaced in Switzerland last month, works that just sold for 8 figures each. The room goes silent. I feel the weight of every gaze, every camera. That's impossible, Ryan scoffs. She's just an art restorer. She couldn't what? I step closer to my brother. Couldn't be successful without Dad's money? Couldn't build something real instead of scamming investors? Speaking of investors, Emma chimes in, phone still recording. They're saying your company's books. Enough! Father's voice booms across the hall. This ends now. Chen, whatever you think you've discovered, I've discovered the truth, Chen says simply, about these paintings, about your father's work during the war, about your daughter's extraordinary talent. He turns to me. The conservatory's board is very interested in discussing a permanent exhibition, one that tells the whole story. Father's face darkens. The board just terminated her position. The hospital board did. Chen corrects him. The conservatory's board, however, recognizes the value of truth and talent. I watch my father's surgical precision crack. Mother's social mask slips. Ryan's swagger deflates. But it's Emma who surprises me, lowering her phone for the first time. Is it true? She asks quietly. About grandfather? About what he did? Yes, Grace answers. Everything he saved, everything he protected. It was never about money or prestige. It was about preserving what matters, something your sister understood long before any of you. The exhibition stays, I announce, feeling stronger with each word. The truth stays, and if that costs me my place in this family, it already has, Father snaps, but his voice wavers. No, Aunt Clara steps forward. It's cost you yours, James. The foundation's board just voted. You and Linda are out. Presley stays. The cameras flash. Emma's followers explode with comments. Ryan's lawyers whisper urgently, but all I see is my father's face as he finally understands. He's lost control of the narrative, of the legacy, of everything he thought he could manipulate. "You'll regret this," he says, but it sounds more like a question than a threat. I look around at the paintings, at my grandfather's hidden signatures, at my restoration work, at the truth finally revealed. "No," I reply. "I regret letting you make me doubt myself for so long. That ends tonight." Chen raises his glass to truth in art and family. The crowd echoes his toast, but I'm watching Emma delete her live stream, Ryan slump against the wall, and my parents retreat toward the exit. Their carefully curated family portrait is shattered, but something real remains in the fragments. Sometimes I realize revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about preserving what they tried to erase, especially yourself. The Dega hangs in Grace's cottage now, restored to its rightful place. I adjust its position slightly, watching morning light catch the hidden signature, my grandfather's mark of protection, my own restoration work, our shared legacy of preservation. "Your father's letter arrived," Grace says from her chair by the window. She holds up a cream-colored envelope still sealed. "Third one this week." I continue arranging the exhibition materials for tomorrow's foundation launch. Emma called again too, says she's starting a documentary series about art restitution. And Ryan? Last I heard, he's facing indictment. The words don't bring the satisfaction I expected. "The SEC found everything." Grace sets the letter aside. "You haven't opened any of them." "No." I pause over a photograph of my grandfather in his studio. I'm not ready for their version of an apology. The doorbell rings. Lucas enters with Chen and several board members, carrying proposals for the Foundation's first restoration project. As they spread documents across Grace's antique table, I notice Emma's latest video playing silently on someone's phone. She's interviewing survivors' families about their lost art collections. "The Swiss pieces are confirmed," Chen announces. "Your restoration technique matched your grandfather's records exactly. We've had 3 museums request your expertise already." Mother would have loved that prestige once. Father would have measured it in dollar signs. Now their silence speaks volumes about what they valued, what they lost, what they never understood. "There's something else," Lucas says, pulling out his tablet. "Remember that art history blog Emma started? She found more families connected to the collection. They've been sharing stories about—" A knock interrupts him. Through Grace's window, I glimpse Aunt Clara helping someone out of a car. Father stands in the driveway, looking smaller somehow. Older. The surgeon's precision replaced by something almost like uncertainty. "I'll handle it," I tell Grace, but she raises her hand. "No, let him come to us this time." The knock comes again. I open the door to find him holding a folder of his own. Not hospital records or legal threats, but something that makes his hands shake slightly. "I found these," he says without preamble, "in your grandfather's study. I thought you should have them." Inside, photographs of me as a teenager, working on my first restorations, notes in my grandfather's handwriting about my progress, a letter he'd written praising my talent, never sent. "He saw you," Father says quietly, "even when I didn't." "James," Grace calls from inside, "come see what your daughter has built." He hesitates at the threshold. The great surgeon, the family patriarch, now just a man facing the consequences of his choices. "I don't have the right." "No," I agree, "but you have the opportunity. That's what preservation is about, isn't it? Saving what matters before it's too late." He steps inside. Emma's video plays on, showing lost art finding its way home. Chen discusses restoration techniques with the board. Lucas sketches designs for the foundation's logo. And there, beneath the Degas, Grace watches her son see his daughter's work through new eyes. I think about revenge, about how I thought it meant destroying the old picture to create a new one. Instead, it became about restoration, not just of art, but of truth, of perspective, of possibility. The sealed letters still sit on Grace's table. Maybe I'll read them someday. Maybe I won't. The satisfaction I sought isn't in their words anymore, but in this moment, my grandfather's legacy alive in every brushstroke, every hidden signature, every piece of art finding its way back to where it belongs. Ready for tomorrow? Lucas asks softly. I look around the room, at the family I chose, the family I fought, the family I might someday rebuild, and touch the Degas frame. Beneath the surface, beneath the damage and the lies and the years of neglect, something true remains, something worth preserving. Yes, I say, I'm ready.
Your childhood home is gone. Amanda's voice dripped with satisfaction through my phone speaker. I bought it at the auction for pennies. You have until Friday to get your stuff out. She paused, clearly waiting for my reaction, expecting tears or begging. I stood in my office, staring at the old photo of my parents and me on the porch of our Victorian house, the one Amanda had just claimed as her latest victory. Thanks for letting me know, I said calmly, my voice steady despite the rage building inside me. That's it. She pressed, clearly disappointed by my lack of emotional response. No crying? No begging. This house has been in your family for generations, and now it's mine. She laughed, a sound grating against my ears. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 32, I was listening to my sister-in-law gloat about stealing my family home through a county auction she orchestrated behind my back. The same house where I'd grown up, where my parents have lived until their accident last year, and where every wall held memories I couldn't replace. You know what's funny? Amanda continued, her voice sticky sweet with fake concern. If you hadn't been so busy with your research work in Boston, you might have noticed the auction notice. But I guess your precious career was more important than your family home. I gripped my desk harder, remembering the research grant that had kept me away for the past 6 months. I'd been developing new treatments for rare genetic disorders, work that could save lives. Amanda had always dismissed it as me playing scientist, while she focused on what she considered real success: marrying my brother Michael and systematically taking control of our family's assets. The house needs someone who'll actually be there, she added. Someone who appreciates it, not someone who abandons it for months at a time. I thought about the property taxes I paid, the maintenance I'd arranged from Boston, the careful plans I'd made to preserve my family home while pursuing my research. I appreciate your concern, Amanda, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Is there anything else? She paused, probably thrown by my continued calm. Well, yes, actually. Michael and I are planning to renovate. Your parents' old furniture will have to go. I'll have it donated by the weekend. My parents' antiques, the furniture that had been passed down through generations. Each piece had a story, a memory attached to it. But Amanda didn't know about the documentation I'd been gathering, the quiet moves I'd been making ever since I noticed money disappearing from the property tax account 3 months ago. That's thoughtful of you, I replied. I'm sure the donations will be appreciated. What is wrong with you? Amanda finally snapped, her composure cracking. This is your childhood home. Fight back, cry, do something. I smiled, though she couldn't see it. Actually, Amanda, I need to go. I have a meeting with the county records office in 10 minutes. The county records, her voice faltered for the first time. Why? Oh, just some paperwork about the house. You know how it is with old properties, always some historical document to review. Have a great day. I hung up before she could respond, my hands shaking as I pulled out the file I'd received from my father's lawyer last week. Inside was a document that Amanda, in her rush to claim her victory, hadn't bothered to find. A document that would turn her perfect plan on its head. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael, my brother. Amanda told me about the house. I'm so sorry, Liv. I had no idea she was planning this. Poor Michael. He'd always been brilliant with numbers, but blind when it came to Amanda's manipulations. She'd swept into his life 5 years ago, all charm and ambition, and he'd fallen hard. By the time they married, she was already working to drive a wedge between us. I texted back, it's okay, Just be at the house on Friday. There's something you both need to see. Another call came in, this time from Mrs. Reynolds, our elderly neighbor who'd watched me grow up. Olivia, dear, I just saw Amanda walking around the property, measuring things. She was talking about tearing down your mother's rose garden. I couldn't bear to watch. Don't worry, Mrs. Reynolds, I assured her. The roses aren't going anywhere. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and clicked on the email from the Historical Society. The one confirming what I suspected when I started digging into the house's history. Amanda might have bought the house at auction, but she hadn't bothered to check the property's historical designation or the special conditions attached to its deed. My father, always careful, always planning ahead, had made sure our home was protected. The historical designation he'd secured meant any changes, from renovation to furniture removal, had to be approved by the Historical Society's board, a board I'd been quietly working with for the past 3 months. My phone buzzed again. Amanda. By the way, I'm thinking of painting the exterior yellow. That awful blue your mother chose is so dated. I actually laughed out loud at that one. The awful blue was part of the historical color palette, documented and protected. Amanda hadn't just bought a house. She bought a property with more strings attached than a puppet show. Looking at the old photo again, I remember my mother's words from years ago. Sometimes, sweetheart, the best response to someone's cruelty is to let them think they've won. Then show them what victory really costs. Friday couldn't come fast enough. Amanda was about to learn that some victories come with fine print, and this one had my father's signature all over it. I picked up my phone one last time, dialing the Historical Society's number. Hi, Miss Thompson. Yes, I'll need those original deed documents on Friday. Yes, all of them. Especially the historical designation papers and the renovation restrictions. As I hung up, I couldn't help but smile. Amanda thought she'd won the house, but she had no idea what she actually bought. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back, it's watching someone's perfect plan unravel all by itself. My parents had always taught me to be prepared, to think ahead, to understand that sometimes the quiet moves are the most powerful. As I looked at their photo one last time before heading to my meeting, I whispered, "Don't worry. The house isn't going anywhere. And neither am I." Friday morning arrived with a flurry of texts from Amanda, each one more demanding than the last. You better have everything out by noon. And I'm bringing contractors to start measuring for renovations. I let each message go unanswered as I drove from the airport to my childhood home. As I pulled up to the Victorian house, my heart tightened at the sight of Amanda standing on the porch, clipboard in hand, talking animatedly to what appeared to be a construction crew. Michael hovered nearby, looking uncomfortable as she gestured wildly about opening up the space and modernizing this outdated mess. Mrs. Reynolds was watching from her porch next door, worry etched on her face. I gave her a reassuring wave as I stepped out of my car. Behind me, another car pulled up, Miss Thompson from the Historical Society, right on time, carrying a thick folder of documents. What is she doing here? Amanda's voice cut through the morning air as she spotted Ms. Thompson. This is private property now. I walked up the familiar path, memories flooding back with each step. The creaky third step my dad had never fixed because he said it was our burglar alarm. The porch swing where Mom used to read to me on summer evenings. The intricate woodwork Amanda was currently planning to tear down. Good morning, Amanda, I said pleasantly. I see you're already making plans. These are my contractors, she announced proudly. We're discussing removing these dated columns and expanding the porch into a modern deck space. Maybe you should say goodbye to it all now, since you'll never see it again. Michael stepped forward, looking pained. Liv, I'm so sorry about all this. I tried to talk to her, but... It's fine, Michael, I interrupted gently. Actually, I'm glad you're both here. Miss Thompson has some documents you need to see. Amanda rolled her eyes. Whatever paperwork you have is irrelevant. I bought this house fair and square at auction. It's mine now. Miss Thompson cleared her throat, opening her folder. Actually, Mrs. Parker, that's not entirely accurate. This property was designated as a historical landmark in 1992 by Mr. James Parker, Olivia's father. Any changes to the property, including but not limited to structural modifications, color schemes, or removal of original fixtures and furniture, must be approved by the Historical Society Board. The color drained from Amanda's face. What? I gestured to the contractors. You might want to hold off on those measurements. Any renovation plans will need to go through an extensive approval process. The Historical Society is quite particular about preserving the original architecture. This is ridiculous, Amanda sputtered. I own this house. I can do whatever I want with it. Miss Thompson pulled out another document. There's more. The historical designation includes specific provisions of the original furnishings, many of which are period pieces that contribute to the home's historical value. They cannot be removed or donated without board approval. I watched as Amanda's perfect plan began to crumble. The contractors exchanged glances and quietly started packing up their equipment. You knew about this, Amanda accused, turning to me. You knew and you let me buy it anyway. Just like you knew about the auction and didn't tell me. I countered calmly. Besides, I tried to call you multiple times last week. You were too busy planning renovations to answer. Michael stepped forward, taking the documents from Ms. Thompson. As he read through them, his accountant's mind processing the implications, his expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something close to admiration. The historical designation doesn't just restrict changes, he said slowly. It also requires significant maintenance and preservation costs. Original materials only, specialized contractors. He looked at Amanda. This is going to be expensive. Amanda's face reddened. We can afford it. Can you? I asked quietly, because the Historical Society requires proof of financial capability to maintain the property. They'll need to review your accounts to ensure you can meet the preservation requirements. That hit home. Amanda and Michael had stretched themselves thin buying expensive cars and taking lavish vacations. The auction price had been their last big splash, meant to secure their victory over me. Now it was becoming their anchor. This is your fault. Amanda turned on Michael. You should have checked the deed more carefully. Actually, Ms. Thompson interjected, all of this information was available in the county records. Standard due diligence would have revealed these restrictions. I watched as the reality of their situation sank in. They'd bought a house they couldn't afford to maintain, couldn't renovate, and couldn't use as they'd planned. The victory Amanda had gloated about was turning to ashes in her mouth. There is another option, I said, pulling out one final document. The Historical Society has first right of refusal on any sale. They're willing to buy back the property at auction price to ensure its preservation. You planned this, Amanda accused, her voice shaking. You let us buy it knowing we couldn't afford the restrictions. I shook my head. No, Amanda. I tried to warn you. You were too busy planning my childhood home's destruction to listen. Sometimes victory comes with fine print. Michael took the buyback offer, reading it carefully. This would get us out without losing money, he said quietly. We should take it. Take it? Amanda's voice rose. After everything I did to get this house? Everything you did. Michael's tone changed. What exactly does that mean, Amanda? I watched as Amanda realized her mistake. In her anger, she'd revealed too much. Michael was looking at her with new eyes, seeing perhaps for the first time the manipulation that had been there all along. I think, he said slowly, we need to have a long talk about exactly how you knew about this auction when my sister didn't. Mrs. Reynolds chose that moment to walk over, carrying a plate of her famous cookies. I thought everyone might need a snack, she said cheerfully. Oh, and Amanda dear, I found these interesting letters in my mailbox. Seems they were delivered to me by mistake last month. Auction notices addressed to Olivia. Such a shame they never reached her. Amanda's face went pale. Michael took the letters, his expression hardening as he read them. The Historical Society's offer expires at 5 p.m. today, I said quietly. I suggest you think carefully about your next move. As I watched Amanda's perfect plan dissolve completely, I felt no triumph, no joy in her defeat. Instead, I felt something closer to peace. The house would be saved, its history preserved, and maybe, just maybe, my brother would finally see the truth he'd been avoiding for so long. Miss Thompson smiled at me. Shall we go inside and discuss the preservation plans? The society is quite interested in your ideas for maintaining your family's legacy. As we walked into the house, leaving Amanda and Michael to their reckoning on the porch, I touched the familiar wooden doorframe, smooth from generations of hands. Some victories aren't about winning at all. They're about protecting what matters, even if you have to lose it first to save it. 3 months after the auction debacle, I sat on the porch swing of my childhood home. watching the autumn leaves dance across the lawn. The Historical Society had expedited the buyback process, and with their support, I'd established a preservation trust to maintain the property for future generations. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. "Can I come over? We need to talk." "Of course," I replied. Things had been strained between us since that day. Amanda had moved out 2 weeks after the failed renovation attempt, but not before Michael had discovered the full extent of her manipulations. The misdirected mail had been just the tip of the iceberg. 20 minutes later, Michael's car pulled up. He looked tired but somehow lighter, like he'd shed a weight he'd been carrying for too long. He joined me on the porch swing, the chains creaking familiarly. "The divorce papers are final," he said quietly. "And you were right about everything. Amanda had been intercepting your mail for months. She even tried to access your research grant accounts." I handed him a cup of coffee from the thermos I brought out. "I know, the university's fraud department caught the attempts. I just couldn't prove it was her until now." He took a sip, looking out at Mom's rose garden, now safely preserved under the Historical Society's protection. "I was such an idiot, Liv. I let her come between us. I almost let her destroy our family home." "You weren't an idiot," I said softly. "You were in love. She took advantage of that." "Did you know," he said, managing a small smile, "that she tried to convince the Historical Society to make an exception for the renovations? Offered them a donation to look the other way." I couldn't help but laugh. "Let me guess. Miss Thompson wasn't impressed." "Not even slightly. Apparently, she recorded the whole conversation. That's when I knew, really knew, who I'd married." A comfortable silence fell between us, the kind we used to share before Amanda came into our lives. The porch swing swayed gently, its rhythm unchanged since our childhood. "I found something in Dad's old study," I said finally, pulling out a worn envelope. "I think you should see it." Inside was a letter dated just months before our parents' accident. Dad had written about his decision to get the historical designation, but it wasn't just about preserving the house. "My dear children," Michael read aloud, his voice catching. "This house isn't just wood and stone. It's every Christmas morning you spent racing down these stairs. It's every scraped knee bandaged in the kitchen. It's every story your mother read in the garden. I'm protecting it not just from change, but from anyone who doesn't understand its true value. It's not about the property, it's about the love built into these walls." Tears rolled down Michael's cheeks as he finished reading. He knew, didn't he? He knew someday someone might try to take it away. Dad always said the best protection isn't a lock, it's making something too precious to destroy. I replied, remembering our father's quiet wisdom. Mrs. Reynolds appeared at the property line, waving. Since the Historical Society took over, she'd become the house's unofficial guardian, keeping an eye on things when I was away for research. "The Preservation Committee is coming next week," I told Michael. "They want to document the house's history, record the stories of the families who've lived here. I thought maybe you could help. You always remember the dates better than me." He smiled, a real smile this time. "Remember when Dad caught us sliding down the banister? Remember when Mom found us camping in the attic during that thunderstorm?" The memories flowed between us, healing the rifts that Amanda had created. As the afternoon light turned golden, Michael helped me bring out the old photo albums we'd saved from Amanda's Dalmatian plans. "I was thinking," he said, flipping through pictures of our childhood, "maybe I could move back to the neighborhood. Mrs. Reynolds mentioned the house next door might be for sale soon. You'd have to promise not to let any future wives try to modernize it," I teased. "It's also under historical protection." He laughed, then grew serious. "I'm sorry, Liv, for everything." "I know," I said simply. "Just remember, sometimes the people who try to destroy things end up destroying themselves instead." As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a news alert. Amanda's attempt to buy another historical property had just been blocked. Her reputation with the Historical Society had effectively blacklisted her from any similar purchases in the future. Michael and I spent the rest of the evening on the porch, planning the preservation project, sharing memories, and rebuilding the bond that Amanda had tried so hard to break. The house stood strong around us, its history protected, its future secure. Sometimes I realized the happy endings aren't about winning or losing. They're about protecting what matters most: family, memories, and the quiet wisdom of those who came before us. As the sun set behind our family home, I knew Dad would have been proud. We hadn't just saved a house, we preserved a legacy of love that would last for generations to come. This vineyard belongs to me now. Amanda's voice echoed through the ancient cellar, bouncing off rows of carefully aged wine bottles. You don't even drink wine, Isabella. What's the point of you keeping this place? I stood among the oak barrels my grandfather had imported from France decades ago, my hands steady despite the rage building inside me. My sister-in-law's smug expression was illuminated by the soft cellar lighting, making her look almost ghoulish as she waved a stack of papers in my face. I've already filed the paperwork, she continued, her designer heels clicking against the stone floor. Since you've been absent from family gatherings and haven't shown any interest in the vineyard, I'm claiming abandonment. The property will be mine within weeks. My name is Isabella Santos, and at 34, I was watching my sister-in-law try to steal my grandfather's legacy. What Amanda didn't know was that while I might not drink wine, I'd spent the last 10 years secretly preserving and building upon everything my grandfather had created. You really think it's that simple? I asked, keeping my voice calm as I ran my fingers along the rough wood of a nearby barrel. The familiar texture grounded me, reminding me of countless hours spent here with my grandfather, learning everything about winemaking while pretending I was just keeping him company. Amanda laughed, the sound sharp and hollow in a cavernous space. Of course it is. Everyone knows you only got this place because you were Papa Santos' favorite. You don't know the first thing about wine. I'm doing the family a favor by taking over. If only she knew. Every weekend for the past decade, while everyone thought I was working overtime at my consulting job, I've been here, learning, working, preserving. The vineyard's recent success wasn't just luck, it was the result of countless hours of dedication and careful planning. You might want to hold off on those renovation plans you're probably dreaming up, I said, walking toward the temperature control panel my grandfather had installed 30 years ago. I'd upgraded it last summer, but kept the old interface as a facade. Just like everything else here, appearances could be deceiving. Oh please, Amanda scoffed, her perfectly manicured hands gesturing dismissively. I've already spoken to developers. This place needs modernizing. Those old methods you and Papa Santos clung to are outdated. We're going to turn this into a proper commercial operation. My stomach turned at the thought of bulldozers ripping through the carefully tended vines, of concrete walls replacing the hand-laid stone my grandfather had selected decades ago. Each grape variety had been chosen specifically for this soil, this climate, this terrain. Amanda saw dollar signs. I saw my grandfather's dream. Did you ever wonder, I asked, moving toward the small office tucked away in the corner of the cellar, why Papa left the vineyard to me instead of your husband, or you, or anyone else in the family? Amanda followed, her heels echoing more urgently now. Because you manipulated him, obviously, always playing the perfect granddaughter, pretending to be interested in his boring stories about soil composition and grape varieties. I couldn't help but smile as I unlocked the office door. The small room was exactly as my grandfather had left it, down to the old desk calendar still showing the date he passed away. But the computer humming quietly in the corner was new, as were the certificates framed on the walls. What's all this? Amanda demanded, stepping closer to read the frames. This, I said, gesturing to the first certificate, is my degree in viticulture and enology from UC Davis. I completed it online while working overtime at my consulting job. And these, I pointed to a row of awards, are the medals our wines have won over the past 5 years under my management. Amanda's face paled slightly, but she quickly recovered. Anyone can hang fancy papers on a wall. It doesn't prove anything. I sat down at the computer, typing in my password. You're right, but the Heritage Registry does. You see, 3 years ago, I registered this vineyard as a protected historical estate. Every grape variety, every building, every production method is documented and legally protected. You can't change a single stone without approval from the Heritage Committee. You're lying, Amanda hissed, but I could see the uncertainty creeping into her expression. I'm not. And there's more. I pulled up the vineyard's financial records, decades of careful documentation my grandfather had kept, seamlessly merged with my own digital systems. Every bottle we've produced, every sale, every award, it's all here, along with proof that I've been actively managing this vineyard for the past decade. The color drained from Amanda's face as she looked at the screen. Years of production data, sales figures, and international recognition scrolled past. Our small vineyard hadn't just survived, it had thrived, all while maintaining my grandfather's traditional methods. But you don't even drink wine, she sputtered, her earlier confidence crumbling. No, I don't, I agreed, standing up. But Papa taught me something more important than tasting wine. He taught me about legacy, about preserving what matters. Every weekend I spent with him here, every story about soil and grapes and weather patterns, it wasn't just about wine. It was about understanding what makes something truly valuable. I picked up a bottle from my grandfather's last vintage, one I'd been saving for a special occasion. You see this? Papa made this the year before he died. He knew he was sick, knew he wouldn't see another harvest, but he still took the time to teach me everything he knew. Not because he expected me to drink it, but because he trusted me to protect it. Amanda stood silent, the papers in her hand forgotten. Through the small window, I could see the sun setting over the vineyard, casting long shadows across the rows of vines my grandfather had planted with his own hands. The Heritage Registry will be contacting your lawyer tomorrow, I said quietly. I suggest you withdraw your claim before things get complicated. This vineyard isn't just property, Amanda. It's a legacy, and I won't let anyone destroy that. She opened her mouth to argue, but the sound of footsteps on the cellar stairs stopped her. Martin, our master vintner who'd worked alongside my grandfather for 30 years, appeared in the doorway. Miss Isabella, he said, nodding respectfully. The new batch of Cabernet is ready for your inspection, and the Heritage Committee called. They'd like to feature our traditional methods in their next publication. Amanda's face flushed red as the reality of her situation sank in. Without another word, she turned and stormed out, her heels clicking furiously against the stone floor until they faded into silence. I picked up my grandfather's old ledger, its pages worn smooth from years of use. Inside the cover, he'd written a note to me just before he died. To my dear Isabella, sometimes the finest things in life aren't meant to be consumed, but preserved. Guard this legacy well. And that's exactly what I intended to do. The morning after my confrontation with Amanda, I arrived at the vineyard to find her Mercedes parked in the gravel driveway. She wasn't alone, my brother Michael was with her, his face red with anger as he stormed toward me. What's this about you threatening legal action against my wife? He demanded, waving his phone at me. I could see Amanda hanging back by their car, her designer sunglasses hiding her eyes but not her smirk. I didn't threaten anything, I replied calmly, unlocking the main gates. I simply informed her of the vineyard's legal status after she tried to claim ownership. This is ridiculous, Isabella. Michael followed me as I walked toward the main building. Amanda told me everything. How you've been secretly running this place behind the family's back. How you've probably been embezzling profits. We're going to demand an audit. I stopped and turned to face my brother. The morning sun was just hitting the vineyard's eastern slopes, illuminating the rows of vines in golden light. This was my favorite time of day here, but now the peaceful moment was shattered by family drama. An audit? I couldn't help but laugh. Go ahead. Every penny is accounted for, every decision documented. But before you waste everyone's time, you might want to ask your wife why she tried to claim abandonment when there's 10 years of proof showing my active management. Active management? Amanda's voice dripped with sarcasm as she finally joined us. Please. You're just a consultant who got lucky inheriting this place. You don't know the first thing about running a vineyard. Martin chose that moment to emerge from the wine cellar, carrying a stack of papers. Ms. Isabella, the Heritage Committee sent over the final documentation for next month's Traditional Methods Showcase. They're particularly interested in your restoration of your grandfather's original fermentation process. I took the papers, noting how Amanda's smirk faltered slightly. Thank you, Martin. Could you also bring out the visitor logs? My brother seems to need proof of my involvement here. Michael's face reddened further as Martin returned with a thick leather-bound book. Every weekend for the past 10 years, Martin explained, opening the book. Ms. Isabella has never missed a harvest, never skipped a planning meeting. She's expanded our distribution to 3 continents while maintaining Papa Santo's traditional methods. That's impossible, Amanda cut in. She works weekends at her consulting job. Everyone knows that. I smiled, remembering all the careful planning it had taken to maintain my cover. The consulting job was real, but the overtime was just an excuse. Every weekend I was here, learning everything I could from Papa and Martin. I didn't tell anyone because I knew how the family would react, just like you're reacting now. But why? Michael asked, his anger giving way to confusion. Why keep it secret? Why not just tell us? I gestured for them to follow me into the cellar. The morning light filtered through the small windows, casting warm patches on the stone walls. This place held so many memories, Papa teaching me about temperature control, explaining how each type of barrel affected the aging process, showing me how to test the grapes for perfect ripeness. Remember when I first started coming here with Papa? I asked Michael, how you and Amanda used to mock me for spending time with the old man instead of going to parties. How you said I was wasting my time learning about dirt and grapes. Michael had the grace to look uncomfortable. We were young then. Yes, we were. But your attitudes never changed. When Papa got sick, neither of you visited him here. You were too busy with your careers, your social lives. But I saw how much it meant to him that someone cared about preserving his life's work. I opened the cellar's temperature control panel, revealing the modern system hidden behind the vintage exterior. Every improvement I've made here honors Papa's methods while adapting to modern standards. The Heritage Registry protects his legacy while allowing us to compete in today's market. Amanda stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on the stone floor. That's all very touching, but it doesn't change the fact that this place would be better off with more experienced management. Michael and I have business degrees. We could turn this into a real operation. A real operation. I felt my patience wearing thin. Let me show you something. I led them to the small office, pulling up the vineyard's financial records on the computer. Last year, our traditional Cabernet won gold at the International Wine Challenge. Our export revenues have tripled in the past 5 years. We've been featured in Wine Spectator twice, specifically highlighting our commitment to traditional methods. Michael leaned in, studying the numbers with growing disbelief. These profits, they're real? Every penny, I confirmed. And they're achieved while maintaining Papa's vision. No mass production, no modern shortcuts. Just careful, traditional winemaking the way he taught me. But you don't even drink wine. Amanda burst out, her composure finally cracking. How can you possibly understand what makes a good vintage? I picked up an empty wine glass from my grandfather's old desk. You're right, I don't drink. But Papa taught me something more important than tasting wine. He taught me to understand it, to respect the process, the tradition, the craft. Every bottle we produce tells a story of the soil, the weather, the care taken during fermentation and aging. I held the glass up to the light, watching it sparkle. You see wine as a product to sell. I see it as a legacy to preserve. That's why Papa left the vineyard to me. Not because I was his favorite, but because he knew I would protect what matters. Michael sat heavily in Papa's old chair, running his hands through his hair. All this time, we thought you were just... I don't know what we thought. You didn't think about it at all, I said quietly. Just like you didn't think about Papa in his final years. You were too busy planning how to modernize this place once he was gone. Amanda's phone buzzed, breaking the tense silence. Her face paled as she read the message. The Heritage Committee, they're sending someone tomorrow to investigate my ownership claim. Yes, I nodded. They take attempted hostile takeovers of protected estates very seriously, especially when there's documented proof of active management and historical preservation. Isabella, Michael started, but I held up my hand to stop him. Save it. You have 2 choices now. You can continue with this failed attempt to take over the vineyard, wasting everyone's time and money on legal battles you can't win. Or you can accept that this is my responsibility, one that I've proven myself more than capable of handling. I walked to the office door, then turned back to face them. Papa used to say that great wine can't be rushed. It needs time, patience, and respect for tradition. The same is true for understanding why he made the choices he did. When you're ready to learn, really learn, about what this place means, come find me. As I left them sitting in the office, surrounded by evidence of my dedication, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. The secret was out now, for better or worse. But one thing was certain, my grandfather's legacy was safe in my hands. 3 months after the confrontation in the cellar, I stood among the vines during our annual harvest. The Heritage Committee's investigation had been thorough, leaving no doubt about my rightful ownership and management of the vineyard. Amanda and Michael had retreated to their city life, their attempted takeover nothing more than a fading memory. But today was different. I watched as Michael, dressed in work clothes instead of his usual business suit, carefully examined a cluster of grapes under Martin's guidance. You need to feel their firmness, Martin explained, demonstrating the technique Papa had taught me years ago. The color isn't enough. It's about the texture, the slight give when you press them. To my surprise, Michael had shown up 3 weeks ago, alone and humbled. I want to understand, he'd said, standing awkwardly in the cellar. I want to know what Papa saw in this place, what he taught you. Now, watching him learn the basics of harvest selection, I saw glimpses of the brother I'd known before ambition and Amanda's influence had changed him. Isabella, he called out, holding up a cluster. Is this what we're looking for? I walked over, examining his selection. The grapes were perfect, just as Papa would have chosen them. Exactly right, you're getting better at this. His face lit up with genuine pride, so different from the arrogant confidence he'd shown during the attempted takeover. I never understood before, he admitted, carefully placing the grapes in his collection basket. All those years, I thought Papa was just stuck in the past with his traditional methods. But there's a science to it, an art. That's what he tried to teach us, I said, leading him to the next row. Every decision here is based on generations of knowledge. The modern world hasn't made these traditions obsolete, it's made them more valuable. As if to emphasize my point, a small tour group emerged from the main building. The Heritage Committee's feature on our traditional methods had sparked interest from wine enthusiasts and historians alike. We now hosted weekly tours, sharing Papa's legacy with people who truly appreciated it. Ms. Isabella, one of the visitors, called out, "Would you mind explaining why you chose to maintain the original fermentation process instead of upgrading to modern equipment?" I smiled, launching into the explanation Papa had given me years ago. As I spoke, I noticed Michael listening intently, nodding as the pieces fell into place. Later that evening, as the sun set over the vineyard, Michael and I sat in Papa's office. The harvest logs were spread across the desk, his neat handwriting joining Papa's careful records. "Amanda served me divorce papers yesterday," he said quietly, tracing the edge of an old wine label. "She said I'm choosing dirt and grapes over our future." I waited, letting him continue. "The thing is," he went on, "being here these past weeks, learning what Papa taught you, I finally feel like I'm part of something real, something meaningful. Amanda never understood that." I reached into Papa's old desk drawer and pulled out a sealed envelope. "He wrote this for you," I said, handing it to Michael. "Asked me to give it to you when you were ready to understand." With trembling hands, Michael opened the letter. Papa's familiar handwriting filled the page. "My dear Michael, if you're reading this, you finally found your way back to the vines. I always hoped you would. The legacy I built isn't just about wine. It's about family, tradition, and understanding what truly matters in life. Your sister understood this from the beginning. Now it's your turn to learn. Don't regret the time lost. Just remember that, like the finest wines, some things can't be rushed. They need time to develop, to reach their full potential. Take care of each other. And remember, the vineyard's greatest strength isn't in its soil or its grapes, but in the love and dedication we pour into it. Love, Papa." Michael wiped his eyes, carefully folding the letter. "I've been such a fool," he whispered. "No," I corrected him. "You just needed time to be ready. Like Papa said, some things can't be rushed." Standing up, I walked to the cellar's small wine vault. Behind the regular stock, in a special cabinet Papa had built, lay a single bottle, the last one he ever made. I'd been saving it for the right moment. "I don't drink wine," I said, placing a bottle on the desk. "But Papa always said this one should be opened when the family was whole again." Michael stared at the bottle, understanding its significance. "Are you sure?" I nodded, handing him Papa's old corkscrew. He made it for moments like this. As Michael carefully opened the bottle and poured himself a glass, I watched the deep red liquid catch the last rays of sunlight through the cellar window. I didn't need to taste it to know it was perfect. Papa had made it with all the love and wisdom he poured into this place. "To Papa," Michael raised his glass. "And to you, Isabella. Thank you for protecting his legacy until I was ready to understand it." Looking out over the vineyard, I felt Papa's presence more strongly than ever. The vines stretched into the distance, each one a testament to his vision and the traditions he passed down. Through all the challenges, his legacy hadn't just survived, it had flourished. And now, finally, our family had too. Have fun explaining to those precious children why they can't go to Disney World. My mother-in-law's voice crackled through the phone, dripping with satisfaction. I've taken every penny from your vacation fund. All $47,000 of it. I stood in my kitchen, stirring pasta for my kids' dinner, and felt an odd sense of calm wash over me. Marian had finally done exactly what I'd been waiting for her to do for months. That's interesting, I replied, keeping my voice steady. And how exactly did you manage that? She laughed, the sound sharp and triumphant. Oh, sweetie, David may be your husband, but he's my son first. Did you really think he wouldn't give me access to your accounts if I asked? Family comes first, after all. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 34, I'd spent the last decade watching my mother-in-law try to drive a wedge between me and my husband. Marian had never forgiven me for stealing her precious son, even though David and I had been happily married for 12 years with twin 8-year-old daughters, Emma and Sophie. You're right, Marian, I said, stirring the pasta with deliberate calm. Family does come first. Thank you for letting me know about the transfer. Her triumphant laughter faltered for a moment, clearly thrown by my lack of panic. What's wrong with you? I just told you I took your entire vacation fund. The one you've been saving for 3 years. The girls will be devastated. I thought about the real vacation fund, safely tucked away in an account Marian knew nothing about, and smiled. Is there anything else you'd like to tell me? You're insane, she spat. I finally won. I've shown David what a terrible mother you are, unable to even keep your promises to your children. Maybe now he'll see sense and... I hung up, placed my phone on the counter, and called out to my daughters. Girls, dinner's ready. As Emma and Sophie bounded into the kitchen, their matching dark curls bouncing, I thought about the events that had led to this moment. 3 years ago, when we'd started saving for our Disney World trip, I'd noticed small discrepancies in our family accounts. Nothing major, a missing $50 here, $100 there, but enough to raise red flags. When I'd mentioned it to David, he'd brushed it off as bank fees or forgotten purchases. But I knew better. I'd seen how Marian's eyes lit up whenever we discussed our finances at family gatherings, how she asked seemingly innocent questions about our banks and accounts. That's when I'd started preparing. The first step was creating a dummy account, the one Marian had just gleefully emptied. Every month, I'd transfer a small amount into it, making it look like our primary savings vehicle. Meanwhile, the real vacation fund grew steadily in a separate account at a different bank, one Marian had no knowledge of. My phone buzzed again. David. Liv, he said when I answered, his voice tense. Mom just called. She's saying something about the vacation fund. What's going on? I could hear Marian's voice in the background, no doubt spinning her version of events. Your mother just called to inform me that she's taken all the money from our vacation account, I said calmly. Apparently you gave her access. Silence. Then, what? I never. Liv, I swear I did. David, I cut him off gently, watching as the girls dug into their dinner. I need you to come home now. We have a lot to discuss. An hour later, after the girls were occupied with their homework, David arrived home. His face was pale, his tie loosened. Marian had followed him in, her expression still triumphant despite my earlier lack of reaction. Show him, she demanded, waving her phone. Show him the empty account. Show him how his wife can't even keep their money safe. I pulled out my laptop, logged into our bank, and turned the screen towards them. The vacation fund account showed a balance of 0, with a transfer timestamp 3 hours ago. Marian's smile widened. See, everything you've saved, gone. And it's all your wife's fault, David. If she were better with money. Marian, I interrupted, opening another window. Since you're so interested in our finances, let me show you something else. I logged into the second account, the real one, and turned the screen again. There it was, $68,000, safely stored away in an account under my name only. At a bank Marian had never thought to check. The color drained from her face. What is this? This, I said quietly, is our actual vacation fund. That account you emptied, it was a decoy. I've been waiting months for you to try something like this. David stared at the screen, then at his mother, realization dawning on his face. Mom, tell me you didn't actually steal our money. Marian's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I was just trying to protect you. She's been controlling all your money, keeping secrets. The only person trying to control anything here is you. I said, standing up. And now we have proof. The transaction records, your phone call, everything. David sank into a chair, running his hands through his hair. I can't believe this. All these years, Liv kept telling me something wasn't right. That money kept disappearing. It was you. Marion's face twisted. She's turned you against me, my own son. No, Mom. David cut her off, his voice firm. You did this yourself. And it stops now. I closed the laptop gently. Marion, you have exactly 24 hours to return the money you took. Every penny of it. After that, we'll be pressing charges for theft. You can't do this to me, she shrieked. David, tell her she can't do this to your mother. But David was already pulling out his phone. I'm calling the bank right now, Mom. What you did. It's not just wrong, it's illegal. As Marion stormed out, slamming the door behind her, I heard small footsteps on the stairs. Emma and Sophie peeked around the corner, their eyes wide. Is everything okay? Emma asked. We heard yelling. I exchanged a look with David before smiling at our daughters. Everything's fine, sweethearts. In fact, I pulled them close for a hug. How would you like to start planning our Disney World trip? Their squeals of excitement filled the house, drowning out the sound of Marion's car screeching away from our driveway. As I held my family close, I knew this was just the beginning. Marion had finally shown her true colors, and now everything was about to change. The next morning, my phone started buzzing at 6 a.m. with messages from Marion's flying monkeys, her sister, cousins, and various family friends, all expressing their shock and disappointment at how I was destroying the family. You're really going to press charges against your mother-in-law? Marion's sister Janet texted, over a simple misunderstanding. I put my phone on silent and focused on getting the girls ready for school. David had barely slept, spending most of the night making calls to the bank and documenting everything his mother had done. The betrayal sat heavy on his shoulders. I should have listened to you years ago, he said as we packed the girls' lunches. All those times you noticed money missing, the way she always asked about our accounts. I just didn't want to believe my own mother walled. Hey, I touched his arm gently. You're not responsible for her actions. The doorbell rang, interrupting our moment. Through the window, I could see Marion standing there, mascara streaked down her face, clutching her designer handbag like a shield. Don't answer it, David said, his jaw tightening. She needs to return the money through the proper channels, not try to manipulate her way out of this. But Marion had already spotted us through the window. David, she wailed, loud enough for the neighbors to hear. Please let me explain. I did this for you. I gathered the girls' backpacks. I'll take them out the back door to school, I whispered. You deal with her. As I guided Emma and Sophie through the garden, I could hear Marion's voice rising hysterically. It was a test. I was just trying to protect our family money. That woman has been controlling everything. That woman is my wife. David's voice cut through clear and firm. And those were our children's savings you stole. By the time I returned from dropping the girls off, Marion's expensive SUV was gone from our driveway. But the drama was far from over. David sat at the kitchen table, looking exhausted. She claims she can't return the money right away, he said as I poured us both coffee. Apparently, she's already spent some of it. On what? I asked, though I could guess. Marion's shopping addiction was legendary in the family. A new designer bag collection and a deposit on a luxury cruise. He laughed bitterly. Our children's vacation fund spent on her vacation. I pulled out my laptop. Well then, time for Plan B. What's Plan B? Remember last year when your mom had that medical emergency and needed to borrow money? I opened a folder of carefully organized documents, and how she insisted on putting her lake house up as collateral, thinking we'd never actually hold her to it. David's eyes widened. The notarized agreement. Exactly. I showed him the legal document we had drawn up. She was so sure we'd never enforce it, she didn't even read the fine print. If she defaults on repayment or commits any financial misconduct against us, the lake house becomes ours. She'll lose her mind, David whispered. That house is her pride and joy. Then she shouldn't have stolen from her grandchildren. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Our lawyer, Miss Thompson, arrived with the paperwork, and we began the process of claiming the lake house. By noon, Marion must have gotten wind of what was happening because her texts became increasingly frantic. You can't take my house, she wrote. I'll tell everyone what a monster you are. Go ahead. I texted back. Make sure you mention how you stole $47,000 from your grandchildren's vacation fund while you're at it. David's phone started ringing, his sister Kate. Unlike Marion's other allies, Kate had always seen through her mother's manipulation. Is it true? She asked when David put her on speaker. Mom actually stole from the girls' vacation fund. It's true, David confirmed. We have the bank records, her confession on my phone, everything. Kate was quiet for a moment. You know what? Good. Maybe she'll finally face consequences for once in her life. Do you need any help? I have records of some suspicious transfers from my accounts too. By mid-afternoon, the story had spread through the entire family, but unlike Marion's previous attempts to turn everyone against me, this time the tide was turning. Cousins started reaching out with their own stories of borrowed money that was never returned. Aunts and uncles shared incidents of Marion's financial manipulation that had been swept under the rug for years. It's like opening a floodgate, David said as we read through the messages. Everyone has a Marion story they've been afraid to tell. Around 4 p.m., just as I was preparing to leave to pick up the girls, Marion showed up again. This time she wasn't crying. She looked furious. Here, she thrust a cashier's check at me. Take your money back. I had to cash in my cruise deposits and sell my new bags at a loss, but here it is, happy now. I looked at the check. $42,000? That's still $5,000 short. That's all I could get together, she snapped. Take it or leave it. The lake house transfer proceeds tomorrow morning unless we receive the full amount, I said calmly. Your choice, Marion. She stared at me, her face turning an interesting shade of red. You really are a piece of work, aren't you? Acting all high and mighty while you tear this family apart. No, Marion, David stepped in, taking the check from my hands. You did that yourself. Every time you took money that wasn't yours. Every time you tried to undermine my wife. Every time you put your own greed above your grandchildren's happiness. My grandchildren? Marion laughed bitterly. The ones you let her turn against me. The ones whose vacation fund you stole, I corrected. And they don't know about any of this yet. But if you'd like to explain to them why you took their Disney World money, be my guest. Marion's face crumpled, but I'd seen this act too many times to be moved by it. I'll have the rest of the money tomorrow, she said finally, but this isn't over. As she stormed out for the second time in 2 days, David and I looked at each other. We both knew she was right, this wasn't over. But for the first time in our marriage, we were completely united against her manipulation. We should probably warn the girls' school not to let her pick them up, David said quietly. Just in case. I nodded, already drafting the email in my head. And we should move the real vacation fund to an even more secure account. David pulled me into a hug. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner. All these years, you were protecting our family while I was making excuses for her. Hey, I hugged him back. Better late than never. As we held each other in our kitchen, I could hear the school bus approaching outside. Soon, the girls would burst in, full of stories about their day, blissfully unaware of the drama unfolding around them. And that's exactly how I wanted to keep it, their innocence protected, their dreams of Disney World intact, and their future secure from Marion's greedy hands. But I knew tomorrow would bring new challenges. Marion never gave up easily, and she'd just been humiliated in front of the entire family. Whatever came next, we needed to be ready. The next morning, true to her word but clearly against her will, Marion transferred the remaining $5,000. But her quiet compliance worried me more than her usual dramatic outbursts. In my experience, a quiet Marion was a plotting Marion. I wasn't wrong. 3 days later, as I was helping Emma with her math homework, my phone lit up with a message from Kate. Check your email now. Mom's lost it. There in my inbox was a mass email from Marion to the entire extended family, including photos of the real vacation fund account I had shown her. The subject line read, Pirolof of Olivia's Deception. The email was a masterpiece of manipulation. Marion had somehow twisted the story to make my protective measures look sinister. According to her, I had been hiding money from the family and deceiving David by keeping secret accounts. She'd even included a tearful video of herself, explaining how she had only accessed the vacation fund to expose my deceitful behavior. She's really something, isn't she? David said, reading over my shoulder. Instead of anger, He sounded almost impressed by his mother's audacity. Should we respond? Before I could answer, another email arrived, this time from David's grandmother, Marion's mother-in-law, Eleanor. She had replied all to Marion's email with two simple attachments: a series of bank statements showing suspicious transfers from her accounts to Marion's over the years, and a single sentence: "Shall we talk about financial deception, Marion?" My phone started buzzing with notifications as other family members began chiming in, each with their own story of Marion's financial manipulations. Kate shared screenshots of borrowed money that was never repaid. Cousins posted about missing wedding gifts that Marion had kept safe. Even Marion's own sister shared a story about disappeared inheritance money. "Mom's always been like this," Kate texted me privately. "She just finally messed with someone smart enough to catch her." I looked at David, who was still reading through the growing thread of family revelations. "You okay?" He nodded slowly. "You know what? I am. It's like I'm finally seeing her clearly for the first time. And I'm not the only one." That evening, as we sat down for dinner with the girls, Emma looked up from her pasta with serious eyes. "Mommy, why hasn't Grandma Marion come to visit this week?" Sophie joined in. "Yeah, she always comes on Wednesdays to take us for ice cream." David and I exchanged glances. We'd been so caught up in the drama, we hadn't prepared for these questions. "Grandma Marion needs some time to think about some choices she made," I said carefully. "Sometimes adults make mistakes, and they need time to understand why those mistakes were wrong." "Like when I took Sophie's art supplies without asking?" Emma asked. "Similar to that," David smiled. "But grown-up mistakes." That night, after the girls were asleep, David and I sat on the back porch, planning our next steps. Marion's email blast had backfired spectacularly, but we knew she wouldn't stop there. "We should use some of the real vacation fund to install security cameras," David suggested, "just in case." I agreed, thinking of Marion's tendency to escalate when cornered. And maybe it's time to tell the girls a simplified version of what's happening. They're smart. They'll notice something's wrong. The next morning, we received a surprising call from Eleanor. "I'm selling my condo," she announced without preamble, "moving into assisted living. I want you and the girls to have the beach house in Clearwater." "Eleanor, we couldn't," I started. "Nonsense," she cut me off. "Marion's been trying to get her hands on it for years. I'd rather it go to someone who knows the value of family, real family, not just money. Besides," her voice softened, "those girls deserve a backup vacation spot if Disney World falls through." 2 weeks later, life had settled into a new normal. Marion's attempts to turn the family against me had instead exposed her own pattern of financial abuse. The real vacation fund remained secure, now with added security measures. And most importantly, the girls' dreams of Disney World were still intact. We did end up telling them a child-appropriate version of events. That Grandma Marion had made some bad choices and needed time to think about them. They were disappointed about the missed ice cream dates but showed remarkable resilience. "Can we still go to Disney World?" Sophie asked one evening as I tucked her in. "Of course, sweetheart," I smiled. "In fact, how about we start planning it this weekend?" As I closed their bedroom door, I found David waiting in the hallway. "You know what?" he said, pulling me close. "Maybe we should use Eleanor's beach house for a practice vacation first. Something smaller, just the four of us." I leaned into his embrace, thinking about how far we'd come. Marion's attempt to destroy our family had instead made us stronger, closer, and wiser. She was still sending occasional dramatic texts, but they held no power over us anymore. "A beach vacation sounds perfect," I said. After all, the best revenge is living well. And as we stood there, planning our future, I couldn't help but feel grateful. Not for Marion's actions, but for how they had brought out the strength in our family, the real family we had built together. The contractions were getting stronger as I lay in the hospital bed, monitors beeping steadily around me. My husband James held my hand, his face etched with concern and excitement. That's when my phone buzzed with a text that would change everything. "Thanks for the $180,000 from your account. Now I can finally live my dream life. Always knew you were the family ATM, haha." The message was from my sister-in-law, Olivia. My hands trembled as I quickly opened my banking app, fighting through another contraction. The account balance stared back at me, $241.53. The savings I built over 10 years working as a pediatric nurse, gone in an instant. What's wrong? James asked, noticing my distress. I showed him the phone, watching his face transform from confusion to rage. Olivia did what? I'm calling her right now. No, I said, gripping his hand tighter as another contraction hit. Not now. Let's focus on bringing our daughter into the world. I've got this handled. My name is Emma Sullivan, and at 32, I was about to become a mother while dealing with the biggest betrayal of my life. But what Olivia didn't know was that I'd been preparing for something like this ever since she moved in with James's parents 6 months ago. The signs had been there from the start. Olivia, perpetually unemployed at 27, had always viewed my savings with envious eyes. Must be nice, she'd say at family dinners, having such a cushy job while some of us struggle. She never mentioned that her struggles were self-inflicted, jumping from one get-rich-quick scheme to another. When she moved back home after another failed business venture, the comments got worse. Emma's so lucky, married to my successful brother, living in that beautiful house. Meanwhile, I'm stuck here with no opportunities. What she didn't know was that every penny in that account had been earned through countless night shifts, extra hours, and careful budgeting. James and I had built our life together, supporting each other through medical school and nursing school. Nothing had been handed to us. 3 months ago, I noticed Olivia hovering over my shoulder while I checked my banking app during a family dinner. Something about her intense interest made me uneasy. That night, I called my bank's fraud department and set up special protocols on my account. Mrs. Sullivan, the bank manager, Mr. Torres, had said, we can create a shadow account. Any large transfers will appear to go through, but they'll actually be held for 72 hours pending verification. Would you like to set that up? I did. Call it intuition or just good planning, but something told me I'd need that protection. Now, lying in the delivery room, I typed a calm reply to Olivia. Enjoy. Her response came quickly. Wow, that's it? No drama? Guess you finally learned to share with family. I closed my eyes, breathing through another contraction. The next 48 hours would be interesting, but right now, my daughter needed all my attention. 14 hours later, I held my beautiful baby girl, Alexandra, in my arms. James couldn't stop taking pictures, his earlier anger temporarily forgotten in the joy of becoming a father. But our peace was short-lived. Olivia burst into the hospital room, designer shopping bags hanging from her arms. Oh my God, she's so cute. She squealed, not even trying to hide her recent purchases. I got her some presents. Well, technically, you got them for her, she added with a smirk. I watched her parade around the room, showing off expensive baby clothes and accessories, all bought with what she thought was my money. Her phone kept pinging with confirmation emails from online shopping sites. The nursery in my new apartment is going to be amazing, she gushed. I've already paid 6 months' rent in advance at that luxury complex downtown. No more living with Mom and Dad. James started to speak, but I squeezed his hand. Not yet. The timing had to be perfect. That evening, after Olivia left and James took Alexandra to the nursery for her checkup, I made a call. Mr. Torres, it's Emma Sullivan. I believe someone accessed my account today. Yes, Mrs. Sullivan. As per our previous arrangement, all transactions have been held in our secure holding facility. Would you like me to proceed with the fraud investigation? Yes, please. And Mr. Torres, could you wait until tomorrow morning to make the calls? The person responsible is about to learn a very expensive lesson about consequences. I could hear the smile in his voice. Of course, Mrs. Sullivan. Congratulations on your new baby. As I hung up, I thought about all the orders Olivia had placed, the lease she'd signed, the celebrations she'd planned. By tomorrow, she'd learn that every single transaction would be reversed. The money she thought she'd stolen was safely protected, and she'd signed herself up for a world of financial and legal trouble. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Olivia. Just booked my dream vacation to Bali. First class all the way. Thanks, sis. You've changed my life. I smiled, thinking of Mr. Torres' pending phone call. You have no idea how true that is, I whispered to myself, holding my sleeping daughter close. The next morning would bring chaos, but for now, I had everything I truly needed right here in my arms. Sometimes the best revenge isn't immediate confrontation. It's letting someone's own actions become their downfall. I closed my eyes, finally allowing myself to rest. Tomorrow would be interesting, but tonight was for my family, my real family. Sweet dreams, Alexandra, I whispered. Mommy's got everything under control. The morning brought exactly the chaos I'd anticipated. I was feeding Alexandra when my phone exploded with notifications. First came the angry text from Olivia. What did you do? The bank just called. They're reversing EVOID. My lease agreement is VOID. Answer me right now. I silenced my phone just as James walked in with breakfast. Is it happening? He asked, noticing my small smile. Before I could answer, we heard commotion in the hospital hallway. I don't care if it's not visiting hours. That's my sister-in-law in there. Olivia's voice carried through the door seconds before she burst in, her perfectly styled hair now disheveled, designer clothes from yesterday wrinkled as if she'd slept in them. Fix this, she demanded, waving her phone at me. The bank manager says I'm being investigated for fraud. Fraud? Me? Your own family. I continued feeding Alexandra, my voice calm. Actually, it's exactly what it looks like. You committed fraud, Olivia. Did you really think you could steal $180,000 and there wouldn't be consequences? Steal, she scoffed, though her voice quivered. You're being dramatic. We're family. I just borrowed it. I was going to pay you back once my new business took off. What new business? James finally spoke up, his tone sharp. The crystal healing workshop? Or the pyramid scheme you tried joining last month? Olivia's face reddened. You don't understand. I had everything planned. The apartment lease is signed. I've bought inventory for my new boutique, booked non-refundable trips. Her voice trailed off as panic set in. Emma, please, you have to tell the bank this was authorized. I adjusted Alexandra in my arms, looking directly at my sister-in-law. Let me explain exactly what's happening, Olivia. Every transaction you made in the last 24 hours has been flagged as fraudulent. The money never actually left my account. It was held in a secure facility waiting for my verification, which I denied. But I have contracts signed. Financial commitments. The reality was finally hitting her. Yes, you do, I agreed. Contracts you signed based on money you stole. Would you like me to explain the legal term for that? It's called criminal liability. Olivia sank into a chair, her face pale. You planned this. You knew I would do it. No, Olivia. I protected myself because I saw how entitled you become. There's a difference. Just then, Olivia's phone rang. The caller ID showed luxury payones apartments. Her hands shook as she answered on speaker. Miss Matthews, this is Sandra from leasing. We've been notified by the bank that your payment was fraudulent. We need you to vacate the apartment immediately and return all keys. We're also reporting this incident to the rental bureau. Olivia ended the call, tears streaming down her face. My credit score, my dreams, everything's ruined. Your dreams? James stepped forward, anger evident in his voice. You tried to steal from my wife while she was in labor. Do you have any idea how twisted that is? I just wanted a better life. Olivia sobbed. Emma has everything. The perfect job, the perfect house, the perfect baby. It's not fair. Not fair? I shifted Alexandra to my shoulder, my composure finally cracking. I worked night shifts for years to save that money. I put myself through nursing school. James and I built our life together through hard work. The only thing that's not fair is you thinking you deserve the rewards of someone else's effort. A knock at the door interrupted us. Mr. Torres himself stood there, accompanied by 2 police officers. Mrs. Sullivan, he nodded to me. Miss Matthews, these officers would like to speak with you about the attempted fraud on Mrs. Sullivan's account. Olivia's eyes widened in terror. Police? Emma, please, don't do this to me. I looked at my daughter, then back at Olivia. I'm not doing anything to you. These are the consequences of your own actions. Miss Matthews, one officer stepped forward. Please come with us. We need to take your statement. As they led us sobbing Olivia away, James sat on the edge of my bed, taking Alexandra in his arms. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I never thought she'd go this far. I know, I said softly. But maybe this is what she needed, a wake-up call. Mr. Torres lingered in the doorway. Mrs. Sullivan, all transactions have been reversed. We flagged Miss Matthews in our system to prevent future attempts. Would you like to press charges? I had thought about this moment for hours. Not yet, I said finally. Let's see if she learns from this first. After he left, James looked at me questioningly. You're giving her another chance. Not exactly, I replied. But sending her to jail won't teach her the value of hard work. I have something else in mind. I picked up my phone and called my mother-in-law. It was time for the family to understand exactly what their precious Olivia had tried to do, and why enabling her behavior had to stop. As I held my daughter close, watching the morning sun stream through the hospital window, I knew this wasn't over. But sometimes the best lessons come from facing the consequences of our actions head-on. Olivia was about to learn that the hard way. Your aunt has a lot to learn about family, I whispered to Alexandra. But don't worry, Mommy's going to make sure she learns it the right way. James kissed my forehead. You're incredible, you know that. Most people would have pressed charges immediately. I smiled, watching Alexandra's peaceful face. Sometimes the best revenge isn't punishment, it's forcing someone to grow up and face reality. The sound of more running footsteps in the hallway told me our family was arriving. It was time for everyone to understand that real love sometimes means tough lessons, and Olivia's lesson was just beginning. 6 months after the incident, I sat in my backyard watching Olivia mow our lawn, part of our alternative rehabilitation agreement. Instead of pressing charges, I'd given her a choice: face legal consequences or work off her attempted theft through a combination of actual labor and financial education. She chose the latter, though I doubt she initially understood what that meant. Every weekend for the past 6 months, she's been doing maintenance work at our house and taking mandatory financial literacy classes that I paid for. The transformation has been remarkable, if not entirely smooth. Water break, I called out, holding Alexandra on my hip. Olivia switched off the mower and walked over, her designer clothes replaced by practical workwear, her perfectly manicured nails now showing signs of honest work. Thanks, she said, accepting the glass of water. She tickled Alexandra's chin, earning a giggle. You know, I hated you at first for making me do this. I know, I replied simply. But how's that job interview from yesterday looking? Her face brightened. They called this morning. I got it. Entry-level accounting assistant. Nothing glamorous, but it's real work with real potential. I finished for her. And you earned it yourself. The journey to this point hadn't been easy. After that day in the hospital, our family had a long, painful discussion about enabling behavior. My in-laws finally acknowledged their role in creating Olivia's sense of entitlement. No more funding her schemes, no more rent-free living without accountability. The first month was the hardest. Olivia had to move back home under strict conditions. She would work for me during weekends, attend financial classes during weekdays, and apply for real jobs. Any violation would result in immediate legal action. I still can't believe how stupid I was, Olivia said, sitting on our patio steps. Thinking I could just take what you and James built together. The important thing is that you're learning, I responded, adjusting Alexandra in my arms. Speaking of which, how's your savings account looking? She smiled proudly. Almost at $3,000. Never thought I'd be excited about saving money, but that class on compound interest really opened my eyes. The sound of James's car pulling into the driveway drew our attention. He stepped out, carrying groceries and grinning at the freshly mowed lawn. Looking good, sis, much better than last month's patchy job. Olivia laughed, a genuine sound that had been rare before. Hey, I'm learning. Just like I'm learning that get-rich-quick schemes are basically just stealing with extra steps. James joined us on the patio, giving Alexandra a kiss. Speaking of learning, Mom told me you helped her set up a budget spreadsheet yesterday. Yeah, Olivia nodded. Once you understand the basics, it's actually kind of fun helping others manage their money better. Whom knew? I shared a knowing look with James. 6 months ago, this conversation would have been impossible. The entitled, resentful Olivia, who tried to steal my savings while I was in labor, had been replaced by someone who was starting to understand the value of hard work and honest living. I should finish the lawn, Olivia said, standing up. But Emma, thank you. Not just for not pressing charges, but for believing I could be better. As she walked back to the mower, James wrapped his arm around me. You know, when you first suggested this rehabilitation plan, I thought you were crazy. But you saw something in her that the rest of us missed. I saw someone who needed to learn the same lessons we did. I replied, nobody gave us shortcuts. We built everything through hard work, smart planning, and respect for each other. Olivia just needed to learn those values herself. Later that evening, after Olivia had gone home, I received a text from her. Just paid for my own car insurance for the first time ever. Feels weird but good. Thanks for teaching me that earning something feels better than stealing it. I showed the message to James as we put Alexandra to bed. Your sister's going to be okay, I said softly. He nodded, watching our daughter sleep. Thanks to you. You turned what could have been a family-destroying disaster into a chance for real change. Looking at Alexandra, I smiled. Sometimes the best lessons come from someone believing you can do better. Besides, now she'll have an aunt she can actually look up to. The incident that could have torn our family apart instead transformed it. Olivia was building a real future, our in-laws had learned about healthy boundaries, and James and I were stronger than ever. As I closed Alexandra's nursery door, I thought about the money Olivia had tried to steal. It was still there, growing steadily in my account. But the real wealth wasn't in those numbers. It was in watching someone learn the true value of earning their own way in life. That was worth more than $180,000 any day. This farm belongs to us now. My mother-in-law's voice crackled through the phone, dripping with satisfaction. We've changed all the locks, and you can forget about ever stepping foot on this land again. I stood in my kitchen, gripping my coffee mug so hard my knuckles turned white. Through the window, the city skyline seemed a world away from the sprawling farmland I'd grown up on. The property isn't yours to take, Diana, I replied, keeping my voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside me. My name is Olivia Parker, and at 32, I was listening to my mother-in-law steal my family's legacy. The 300-acre farm had been in my family for 4 generations, and now, barely 3 months after my grandfather's passing, Diana thought she could simply claim it as her own. Oh, but it is, she sneered. The new deed is already filed. Your grandfather left everything to Michael, my precious son. You're just the farmer's granddaughter who got lucky enough to marry into our family. Did you really think you'd inherit anything? I closed my eyes, remembering last summer's evening when Grandpa had called me out to the old oak tree. His eyes had twinkled with that familiar mischievous glint as he pressed a small brass key into my palm. There's more to this land than meets the eye. Live, he'd whispered. When the time comes, you'll know what to do. Diana, I said calmly, you might want to check those property records again. Carefully this time. Don't threaten me, girl, she spat. Your grandfather was a senile old man who didn't know what he was doing in his final years. The court will see it our way. Michael agrees with me completely. Of course he did. My husband had changed since his mother moved in with us last year. The kind, understanding man I'd married had become a puppet, dancing to Diana's every tune. When Grandpa passed, Michael hadn't even attended the funeral, claiming he had an important business meeting. I'll be there tomorrow morning, I said firmly. Don't touch anything in Grandpa's study. Her laugh was sharp and cruel. The study's already been cleared out. All that outdated farming equipment and those worthless old maps are in the dumpster where they belong. We're modernizing this place, turning it into something actually profitable. My heart skipped a beat, but I forced myself to remain calm. Diana didn't know about the hidden bunker beneath the study, the one Grandpa had shown me that summer evening. The entrance was concealed behind an old filing cabinet, protected by a combination lock that only I knew how to open. See you tomorrow, Diana, I said and hung up before she could respond. I immediately called my best friend Emma, who also happened to be a property lawyer. They've done what? She exclaimed after I explained the situation. Olivia, that's impossible. I helped your grandfather update his will last year. The farm is legally yours. Diana claims they filed a new deed, I said, pulling out the brass key from my jewelry box where I kept it safe. She says Grandpa left everything to Michael. That's fraud, Emma replied, and I could hear her typing furiously. Give me an hour. I'll pull the records and see what they filed. While waiting for Emma's call back, I packed a small overnight bag. My hands brushed against the old leather-bound journal Grandpa had given me on my wedding day. Inside were detailed maps of the farm, including underground water sources and hidden storage spaces that had helped our family survive the Great Depression. Diana thought she knew everything about our land, but she had no idea what secrets it held. Grandpa had always said our farm was special, that it held treasures more valuable than gold. I'd assumed he meant the memories we created there, but now I wondered if there was more to his words. Emma called back just as I was loading my bag into the car. Olivia, this is serious, she said. They submitted documents claiming your grandfather was mentally incompetent when he wrote his last will. They're trying to invalidate it completely. I started the engine, a plan already forming in my mind. Can you meet me at the farm tomorrow morning? Bring whatever legal documents you have. I'll be there at 8, she promised. Don't let them destroy anything else until I arrive. As I drove through the night, memories flooded back. Summers spent helping Grandpa in the fields, learning every inch of our land. The secret paths through the woods, the hidden springs, and most importantly, the underground bunker that had been our special secret. One day, Liv, Grandpa had told me, someone might try to take this land from you. When that happens, remember, the truth lies beneath the surface. I hadn't understood his words then, but now they made perfect sense. In that bunker were documents dating back to the farm's original purchase, maps showing hidden resources, and most importantly, proof that this land was meant to be mine. Diana thought she'd won, that she could bully and manipulate her way into stealing my inheritance. She had no idea that Grandpa had spent years preparing for this very situation. He'd known Diana's true nature long before any of us had seen it. As the city lights faded behind me and the familiar countryside stretched ahead, I felt a surge of determination. This wasn't just about property or money. It was about preserving a legacy, protecting the land that had been in my family for generations. Tomorrow would change everything. Diana and Michael thought they held all the cards, but they didn't know about the ace I had up my sleeve. The hidden bunker contained something that would shatter their carefully constructed plan, something that would prove once and for all who this land really belonged to. The moon cast long shadows across the fields as I drove down the familiar country roads. In less than 12 hours, I would face off against my mother-in-law and the man I once thought I knew. But this time, I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was fighting for Grandpa's legacy, for the land he loved, and for the truth he trusted me to protect. The brass key felt warm in my pocket, a reminder that some things were worth fighting for. Diana had no idea what was coming, but by tomorrow evening, she'd learn that you don't mess with a farmer's granddaughter, especially one who knows where all the secrets are buried. The familiar gravel crunched under my tires as I pulled up to the farmhouse at dawn. The morning dew still clung to the grass, and the old oak tree cast long shadows across Grandpa's carefully tended garden. Everything looked the same, yet somehow different, like a photograph slightly out of focus. Diana's pristine Mercedes was already parked in the driveway, looking completely out of place next to the weathered barn. As I stepped out of my car, the front door swung open. There she stood, perfectly coiffed even at this early hour, with Michael hovering behind her like a shadow. "You're trespassing," Diana called out, her voice carrying across the yard. "I'll call the police." I walked steadily toward them, my boots leaving prints in the dewy grass. "Go ahead," I replied calmly. "I'm sure they'd be very interested in the fraudulent documents you filed." Michael stepped forward, his face a mask of practiced concern. "Liv, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Dad's gone, and the farm needs proper management. Mom has connections. Your mother has delusions. I cut him off. And you've forgotten who you are, Michael. This land raised you too." Diana's perfectly painted lips curled into a sneer. The study's locked. "Whatever you're looking for, you won't find it. We've been very thorough." "I bet you have," I thought, remembering the dumpsters she'd mentioned. But Diana didn't know about the hidden entrance behind the filing cabinet, or that the key in my pocket opened more than just one door. Emma's car pulled up just then, and Diana's expression faltered slightly at the sight of her legal briefcase. "Good. Let her worry." "Mrs. Henderson," Emma greeted Diana professionally. "I've brought copies of the original will and property deeds. We should discuss the serious legal implications of your recent actions." "This is private property," Diana started, but Emma cut her off. "This property belongs to Olivia Parker, as clearly stated in George Parker's last will and testament, which I personally witnessed. Your fraudulent claims won't hold up in court." While Emma kept them distracted in the kitchen with legal documents, I slipped away to Grandpa's study. The room had been ransacked, drawers pulled out, papers scattered everywhere. My heart ached seeing his beloved space treated with such disrespect. The old filing cabinet had been pushed aside, but not far enough to reveal the hidden door. I carefully moved it back into position. listening for the subtle click that meant it was perfectly aligned. Then, using the brass key and the combination Grandpa had taught me, his father's birthday, I opened the concealed entrance. The narrow staircase led down to the bunker, where the air was cool and smelled of earth and old paper. I flicked on my flashlight, and there it was, exactly as Grandpa had shown me. Metal filing cabinets lined the walls, each containing decades of farm records, original deeds, and most importantly, the evidence of what made this land truly special. I grabbed the specific folders Grandpa had pointed out last summer, along with a rolled-up survey map from 1943. Then I noticed something new, an envelope with my name on it, written in Grandpa's familiar shaky handwriting. Inside was a letter dated just weeks before his passing. My dearest Liv, if you're reading this, then Diana has made her move sooner than we expected. In the bottom drawer of the third cabinet, you'll find documentation of the mineral rights survey conducted last year. The results will explain why she's so desperate to claim our land. Don't let her bully you, sweetheart. You're stronger than she knows. Love, Grandpa. My hands trembled as I opened the survey report. The technical language was complex, but the conclusion was clear. Significant deposits of rare earth minerals had been discovered beneath the northwestern section of our farm. The land Diana thought was worthless old farmland was sitting on a fortune. I gathered everything and hurried back upstairs, finding Emma still engaged in heated discussion with Diana and Michael in the kitchen. Diana was waving some document in Emma's face, her voice shrill with indignation. This medical evaluation clearly shows. Diana stopped mid-sentence when she saw me. Where have you been? I spread the documents across the kitchen table, watching Diana's face pale as she recognized the mineral survey report. Looking for these? I asked quietly. Is this why you were so eager to claim Grandpa's worthless farm? Michael stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the papers. What are those? Proof that your mother knew about the mineral deposits months ago, I said, meeting his gaze steadily. She's been planning this takeover since before Grandpa died. The medical evaluation she's waving around, the doctor's signature is dated after Grandpa's death. Care to explain that, Diana? Diana's composure cracked. You don't understand what's at stake here. That old fool was sitting on a gold mine and didn't even know it. He knew, I corrected her, pulling out more documents from the bunker. He knew everything. He just chose to protect the land instead of exploiting it, something you'd never understand. Emma was already photographing the fraudulent documents, her face grim. This is serious fraud, Mrs. Henderson. We're talking potential criminal charges. Diana's perfectly manicured hands began to shake. Michael, do something. But Michael was staring at the survey maps, recognition dawning in his eyes. The northern woods, that's where Dad taught me to fish. You were going to strip mine it? It's business. Diana snapped. Something you two sentimental fools clearly don't understand. I watched my husband's face as the truth sank in. For the first time in months, I saw a glimmer of the man I married, the one who used to love this land as much as I did. Get out, Michael said quietly, surprising us all. Mom, get out. Now. Diana's face contorted with rage. After everything I've done for you, everything you've done has been for yourself. He cut her off. Dad was right about you. Get out before we press charges. I stood there, documents spread across the kitchen table where I'd eaten countless meals with Grandpa, watching as Diana grabbed her designer purse and stormed out. The screen door slammed behind her, and her Mercedes peeled out of the driveway, leaving a cloud of dust in its wake. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken words. Michael turned to me, his shoulders slumped. Liv, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I should have. I held up my hand, stopping him. We'll talk later. Right now, Emma needs to file these documents with the court and start proceedings to clear the fraudulent claims. As Emma gathered the papers, I walked to the window, looking out over the fields that had sustained my family for generations. The morning sun had burned away the dew, and the land stretched out green and alive in every direction. Grandpa had trusted me to protect it, and I had. But the battle wasn't over yet. The weeks following Diana's dramatic exit were filled with legal proceedings and difficult conversations. Emma worked tirelessly to clear the fraudulent claims, while Michael and I began the painful process of rebuilding trust. One evening, as the sun set over the cornfields, we sat on the front porch swing, just like Grandpa used to do. The familiar creaking of the chains filled the silence between us. I found more letters, I said quietly, pulling out a stack of weathered envelopes from my pocket. Grandpa wrote them over the years, documenting everything Diana tried to do to get control of the farm. Michael took them with trembling hands. He knew. All this time. He knew she was playing a long game, I replied, watching his face as he read. That's why he prepared everything so carefully. He wasn't just protecting the land from her. He was protecting us too. The letters revealed a pattern of manipulation spanning years. Diana had tried multiple times to convince Grandpa to sell, each offer more aggressive than the last. But he'd stood firm, knowing the true value wasn't just in the minerals beneath the soil, but in the legacy the land represented. I've been such a fool, Michael whispered, his voice thick with emotion. All those business meetings she arranged, the investment opportunities she pushed, it was all about getting control of the farm. I placed my hand over his. You wanted to believe in her. That's not foolish, it's human. The screen door creaked open, and Emma stepped out, holding a stack of papers. It's done, she announced with a satisfied smile. The fraudulent claims have been completely dismissed, and I've filed restraining orders against Diana. She can't come within 500 feet of the property. Relief washed over me. Thank you, Emma, for everything. Don't thank me yet, she grinned. Wait until you see what else I found in those old records. Your grandfather wasn't just protecting the land, he set up a conservation easement. The mineral rights can never be exploited. This farm will always be exactly what it is, a farm. Michael let out a surprised laugh. He really did think of everything. That he did, I agreed, thinking of the bunker and its carefully preserved documents. He knew this land's real value isn't in what's beneath it, but what grows on it. Over the next few months, Michael and I worked to restore what Diana had tried to destroy. We replanted Grandpa's vegetable garden, repaired the old barn, and slowly found our way back to each other. The farm became our healing ground, just as it had been for generations before us. Diana made one last attempt to challenge the will, but her case crumbled when her fraudulent activities came to light. The last we heard, she'd moved to Florida, as far from our fertile Illinois soil as she could get. 1 year after that tumultuous morning in the kitchen, I stood under the old oak tree, holding a small brass key. It was time to add my own documents to the bunker, continuing the tradition of protecting our legacy. Michael joined me, carrying our newborn daughter, Grace. Should we show her? He asked, nodding toward the hidden entrance. I smiled, watching our daughter's eyes track the dancing leaves above. Not yet. But someday, when she's ready, we'll tell her everything. About her great-grandfather's wisdom, about the land that's been in our family for generations, and about how love for this place is stronger than any amount of greed. Emma visited often, bringing her legal expertise and genuine love for the farm. Together, we established a trust to ensure the land would always remain agricultural, protecting it for future generations. As I watched Grace take her first wobbly steps across the same grass I played on as a child, I think about Grandpa's final gift. It wasn't just the land or the hidden bunker with its crucial documents. It was the lesson he taught me about standing firm in the face of adversity, about protecting what matters most. The farm continues to thrive, producing crops that feed our community. The northern woods where Michael learned to fish remain untouched, a sanctuary for wildlife and family memories alike. Sometimes, when the evening light hits the fields just right, I swear I can see Grandpa standing there, smiling at what his legacy has become. Diana thought she could steal our land by exploiting its hidden wealth. What she never understood was that the real treasure was never the minerals beneath the soil. It was the soil itself, the memories it holds, and the future it promises to those who love it enough to protect it. As for Michael and me, we've learned that some bonds, like the roots that run deep beneath our fields, grow stronger when tested. We're not just farmers now. We're guardians of a legacy that will continue long after we're gone, preserved in the hidden bunker and in the hearts of those who call this land home. Grace's laughter echoes across the fields as she chases butterflies through Grandpa's garden, and I know with absolute certainty that we did the right thing. This is where we belong, and no amount of greed or manipulation can ever change that. The brass key hangs on a hook by the door now, a reminder that sometimes the greatest victories come not from fighting, but from standing firm in what you know is right. Just as Grandpa always said, the truth lies beneath the surface, in the soil, in the soul, and in the heart of those who love this land enough to protect it.